Good evening, YouTube. This is Dane NYMTB, and today we're going to take a look at the Specialized Fuse 27.5. This is a 2022 model. This bike is in a size small. It was purchased for my wife about 4 months ago when they had them on sale. I believe right now they're listed around $12.99. At the time we purchased it, it was $10.99. I just want to kind of go over some of the specs and features, as well as some little work that we've done on the bike against my wife's wishes. I'm addicted to upgrading bikes. I don't know if you could tell. But before we begin, I just want to say I appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch my videos. And if you like the content and want to see more, you can help me by hitting subscribe and helping me grow my channel. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so this is the base model. The only differences between this and the higher spec models is that it comes in a lower grade of aluminum. This is, what's it say? The A1 aluminum. I believe the higher specs have a, whatever it is, A2 or whatever. I don't feel like checking it right now, but so you get a little bit lesser quality aluminum, but it's still a solid frame. I mean, years ago with Specialized bikes, A1 was considered the top dog, so it's probably a little heavier. Not sure exactly the difference, but alloy's alloy. One of the main differences, this being a 27.5, it doesn't really matter too much, but you'll see on the higher specs, they have the ability to adjust the chainstay by moving the axle forward or back. You can't do it on this bike. It's in a fixed position, but again, this is a 27.5, so it's not like we're gonna stick a 29 on the back here. So it is what it is. One of the areas where they cut the cost is by putting this X-Fusion MIG 27.5. It's a 32 mil stanchion fork, and it is a spring fork. However, it does have a lockout, so you can firm it up or open it up. When I say open, it's not an air shock, but it just basically affects the spring rate, how far it'll compress. And it does actually have a preload, which is actually pretty nice, that you can put that spring under some tension to give it a little more of a firm feel. And it does have a rebound adjustment. I can say that in the past I've had kind of mixed results with X-Fusion's parts and components, but this fork actually works fairly well. It's probably on par, or maybe even better than like the Suntour XCMs. I haven't actually seen any expert comparisons to base that on, but just based off of what I felt on it, kind of reminded me of the old days using spring forks on some of the older bikes that I used to have. That said, it feels pretty good. I wanted to hate it, but it's actually not that bad. And but it is kind of at odds with what this bike is built for. If you look at the geometry, it's got a modern little bit of a slack. The head tube is kind of out there a bit. It is a tapered head tube, so this is a bit more capable than the Rockhopper. It's meant for getting on rowdier trails. It's not an XC bike. This is a trail bike, so depending on your particular riding, that fork may not cut it for you. That might be an area that you might want to throw on something on there. But that said, it is 130 mil, so it does the job for what it is, but you may want more in the future. One of the things we did do on this bike, the bike comes with an Advent 9 1x9 with a stout crank. We ended up switching that out with SRAM SX that came off of my stump jumper. So we were able to transfer out the bottom bracket. So this has the power spline from the SX setup, as well as the rear derailleur. I ended up swapping out the cassette. This is actually an NX cassette, which fit right on the stock hubs, which I believe are Shimano MT400s. Everything works great. I'll say that personally, I didn't like the Advent 9. I know a lot of people say that MicroShift actually makes decent stuff, but I found it to be really hard shifting. I tried adjusting it some, but it just wasn't feeling right. And that gear range of 11 by 42, I believe, it was kind of lacking for my wife, who's kind of fresh and new into mountain biking. So I think she could really benefit from having that 50 tooth to get up some of the hills. But like I said, everything swapped out nicely. So if you're in that boat, you're looking for, you know, wanting to go from a 1x9 to a 1x12, you can do it on this bike. Some of the other things, the brakes are actually pretty decent. These are, I believe, also MT400, maybe MT200, not sure. But they're 2-piston Shimano brakes, hydros, on 180 mil rotors on front and back. That might be an area that you want to look to upgrade. It does use the center lock instead of the 6-bolt. But like I said, they work fairly well. They're not the greatest brakes. They're basically Shimano's entry-level brakes, but for what you're paying, you get a lot of bike. Everything else is pretty solid. It does come with a dropper post. Now this is shimmed, so it's was it a 30.9, whatever the smaller size dropper is. It's was a Trans-X dropper. It works well. I'll try to show you. Nice. Which that's something that you don't see on a lot of bikes, especially in this price range, that you're already getting a dropper installed on it. So that's, you know, pretty much you order this bike, it's going to be ready to go for you. Final thoughts on this. It's great for $1,000. I don't know if I would pay the $1,599 original price or the $1,299 price that they're listed at right now. I think for $1,100, this was a good buy. I mean, it's got decent tires on it. The eliminators are great. I'm actually thinking of putting an eliminator on the rear of my bike because I don't really like the Purgatory that much, to be honest. You know, it's set up to rock and roll, and it's a good fun bike. I have taken it out myself a little bit. With it being a size small, I'm a little over 5'8". It's definitely too small for me, but it's still rideable. And it's actually, like I said, I was actually surprised how nice this bike actually felt. I didn't, you know, going from a full suspension, I wasn't really sure how I would feel sitting back on a hardtail, but this bike is actually pretty nice. So if you're looking for an aggressive trail bike that isn't going to break the bank, give the Fuse 27.5 a look. But just know that there's going to be some things you want to upgrade as you progress. All right, later.